Hi, and welcome back to another video, and this video will be a continuation of the topic of GCF. So let's go ahead and write GCF up here. Okay, so like in the last video, GCF stands for greatest common factor. But you know what? I'm gonna make a little spin to this video. How about we take away the greatest part of greatest common factor, and we're just gonna find common factors, and I'm gonna show you that if you're not too comfortable with dividing numbers by the largest number that you can think of, you can find the smaller ones and you're going to get the same exact result. So let's go ahead and begin. We have 18x squared minus 12xy, right? So these numbers they're a part of the 6 times tables. So I would start off by dividing them both by 6. But because we're trying to find common factors instead of just the greatest common factor, we can just take baby steps. So, hey, they're both even, and it's always much more simpler to divide by 2. So let's just say we're going to take 2 as our common factor for now, right? What else can we take out from both? Well, they both have x's. And how many x's can we afford to take out from both? Well, this x right here is actually to the first power, right? Even though we don't see any exponents, we know that the 1 is there. So just a little refresher. Remember, let's take the number like 3. We learned that there's a number in front of the 3. There's a 1 there, an imaginary 1 is being divided by 1 and is risen to the first power. But we never write all of those ones, right? We just call it 3. But keep that in mind. We know the 1 is there. So we're just gonna use that use that knowledge to help us out here. So how many x's can you afford to take out from both? You can afford to take out just one x from both. And what do I mean by afford? Put it this way, right? Let's say let's say the PlayStation 5 ends up being $700. It costs you $700. If you can get $700, you can have yourself a PlayStation 5, right? um how much do you have in your bank account? Let's say your bank account has exactly $700 in it. So can you afford to buy a PlayStation 5? Yes, you can, because you have the money. You have every dime it requires to buy a PlayStation 5. Should you buy it and deplenish all the money in your account to make it into a zero? That probably wouldn't be wise. But it's okay. But you catch my drift, right? You get what I'm trying to say. You can afford to spend $700. So let's go back over here to the GCF. Can we afford to take out an x? Yes, we can, because they both have x's. So let's go ahead and write down what we have left. So 18 divided by 2 is going to give you a 9. We can take out one x from the x squared. We get an x. Keep the sign going, minus. 12 divided by the 2 that we took out from here is going to give you a 6. We took away all the x's from this 1x here. We took it out. So there is no more, or there are no more x's. So we're just going to put not an x. Technically, it's x to the 0 because we took them all out. But we're not going to write x to the 0 because any number, any variable to the 0 power is going to give you a 1. And so it goes away completely. So you basically just don't write it. And lastly, we have a y sitting here, but we don't have a y in this term, so there's nothing you can do with that. There is nothing common in terms of, both of them having a y, so you're just going to leave the y where it's at. And we can go ahead and close it up because we found all the common factors, so close it up with the parentheses. And so far, so good, right? We took a 2, we took out an x, we took them both out. Uh, does this have anything else in common? Yes, they do. So we can take out a 3. So the 2x that we have sitting there, we're going to leave it there. We're taking out a 3. And now let's just divide every single term by 3. So 9 divided by 3 will give you a 3. Nothing happens with the x. Minus 6 divided by the 3 that we took out will give you a 2. And we're still left with the y. So now what? Well, take a look over here. We are going to go ahead and multiply everything here together. So 3 times 2x will give you a 6x. And remember, we knew that 6 was going to be our GCF, but we didn't just like go straight to the 6. We broke it down into 2 and 3, and then we just multiplied the result. So hey, we got the GCF anyway, right? And we still have 3x minus 2y. So we're done here, and I just want to, this explanation was, pretty straightforward and everything like that. Let's go ahead and try it without all the side notes and everything, and I'm going to show you how to do this in real time. So we have 18x squared minus 12x and then y. So let's go ahead and take out a 2. And notice I'm not going to take out the x. The great thing about this method is that you can leave everything for last, just as long as you get to them eventually. Okay, so let's take out a 2. So 18 divided by 2 is 9. We have x squared still. Minus 12 divided by the 2 will give you a 6. xy. What else can we take out? We can take out a 3 this time. And so when you take out a 3, make sure you multiply it by the 2 that's already sitting out there. So it becomes a 6. So be careful, okay? So divide by 3, you're going to get 3x to the second power minus 2xy. And now, do they have anything else in common? Yes, they do. They have an x in common. Now we're going to take out the x. So 6x, open parentheses, and it's the same thing, but minus an x. So we've taken x out from x squared. We're going to be left with 1x, which is x to the first power, minus 2. We took an x out from there, so the x is gone, and we're left with the y. Go ahead and close it up, and we're done. And that's all there is to it. Okay, so let's go ahead and start another example involving trinomials and a trinomial that has two variables, x and y. So just like in the last previous step, we're going to go ahead and find some common factors and see if we can make it easier for us. I'm noticing that they're all even, so they can all be divided by 2. I see that 12 and 18 are part of the 6 times table, so there's a good chance that 54 is also a part of the 6 times tables. Well, I know 54 is divisible by 2, but if it were to be divisible by 6, it will have to also be divisible by 3. So is 54 divisible by 3? Let's go ahead and use a little 3 trick. So remember what you do, you take the digits of 54, you add them together, and if that number is divisible by 3, then 54 is divisible by 3, and look, 9 is definitely divisible by 3. So if it's divisible by 2 and 3, then it has to be divisible by 6. So remember what your GCF, we already said it was divisible by 2. 2 is one of your common factors. It's not the greatest common factor, but it's a common factor. And 3 is also a common factor. What you do is multiply them both together, and you're going to get a 6. So let's go ahead and just write a 6. Now, as a shortcut for the GCF of your variables, believe it or not, is simple. Let's go ahead and write a 1 here for your y. So what is the smallest exponent for your x's? We have a 3, we have a 7, and we have a 2. What's the smallest? It's the 2. So we're going to put x squared as a part of your GCF. Now, what about your y's? For your y's, that y to the first power is your smallest y. So, and we're just going to put that here, y to the first power. You don't have to write the 1. You can if you like. Now we're going to basically start dividing. So 12 divided by 6 will give you a 2. X cubed divided by x squared will give you just 1x left over. Y squared, you take out the y, you're just left with y to the first power, just 1y, plus we have 18 divided by 6 will give you a 3. X to the 7 divided by x to the second, you subtract the x's, you're going to get x to the fifth. Y to the 1 divided by y to the first power that we took out. You're left with normal y's. Keep the sign going. We have 54 divided by 6. What is 54 divided by 6? 54 divided by 6, if you're familiar with your 9 times tables, it will give you a 9. But let's say you're not quite familiar, you're not quite at that level yet, which you eventually will be. You can go ahead, because we know that 54 is divisible by 6, we already know it's divisible by 2, it's divisible by 3. So what you do, like separately, off to the side somewhere, you start off by dividing by 2 or 3. It's easier to just divide by 2. So divide by 2, you're going to get 2 times, so subtract 4, you get 1, you get 4, you get a 14. Remember, bring down the 4 when you're dividing. So how many times does 14 go into 2? 7 times. Now we take the result from here, and we're going to divide by 3 this time. So 27 divided by 3, that's a 9. 9, 18, 27. So your final result here, this is how we get the 9 here. Eventually, you'll just know 54 divided by 6 is 9. The more you deal with the numbers, the faster you'll be on your feet. Okay, so continuing, we have x squared divided by the x squared that we took out. There are no more x's, so you're not going to write any x's. We have y to the fourth divided by y to the first power. We're going to get y to the third. And we're finished. Okay, so let's go ahead and take a look at one final example involving trailing zeros. So take a look at this. We have 7,000x plus 500y minus 10,000yz. So believe it or not, finding the GCF when there's zeros in the back of the numbers is simple if you follow this trick. So which one of these has the least amount of zeros? This guy, the 500. So that means that you can afford to take off 2 zeros from each. So let me show you how it's done. If you're taking off 2 zeros from each, that means that in actuality, you're dividing all the numbers by 100. So 100 is going to be our common factor for now. They don't have any variables in common. The first term here has an x, the second term here has a y, the last term has y and z, but they don't have a variable in common for all 3 of them. So we're not going to have to worry about the variable in this case. But anyway, let's go ahead and start dividing all of these by 100. Here's a technique that I like to use. I like to just cross off 2 zeros from each of them. And visually, you'll see what we have left over. So it'll be, easier for you. So take off the 2 zeros from the first term, we get 70x, so 70x, plus 5y, and then minus 100yz. Now, can they all be divided by something else? Yes, they can. They all end in 5 or 0, right? So let's go ahead and divide by 5. So let's make an open parentheses. Now, we already determined that 5 is going to be our another common factor. So take that 5 that you just took out and multiply it by the 100 that you took out in the previous step. So that's going to be 500 now. So 70 divided by 5. Let's go ahead and do some math over here. Just very quickly. We're going to get a 14. So this is 14. X plus 5 divided by 5 will give you 1. So this is 1y. So we just write y. And then lastly, we have 100 divided by 5 will give you 20. And we still have yz. And we're done. And that's all there is to it. So, if this video was helpful to you, please like, subscribe. I'm looking forward to making more videos. If you have any comments, questions, concerns, please put them in the comment section. Send me any and everything. Let's make this channel grow. Thank you very much. Thank you so much for watching.